Welcome back, dear viewers. Thank you for staying with us. With us now here in the studio is Professor of Economics, Dr. Zeinab Nawar. A very good evening to you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Zeinab, always a pleasure to have you with us. Allow us, please, and allow us, dear viewers, first to watch a report about the Decent Life Presidential Initiative and then come back and start our discussion.
The Decent Life Presidential Initiative, the national project for the development of the Egyptian countryside, is a multi-pronged and integrated initiative launched by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in 2019. The initiative aims at improving the living conditions and the daily life of Egyptian citizens within the framework of the integration and unity of efforts among the state institutions, private sector entities, civil society, and development partners in Egypt. The initiative also aims to provide an integrated package of services, including various aspects of health, social, and living conditions. It is a huge shared responsibility among those different parties to provide a decent life to Egyptian citizens, especially vulnerable groups. The target groups are the neediest families in rural communities, seniors, persons with disabilities, female breadwinners and divorced women, orphans and children, unemployed youth and volunteers. The pillars of the work of Decent Lives are decent housing, which is improving the quality of housing, building roofs, building housing complexes in the poorest villages, and bringing water, sewage, gas, and electricity to the homes. Infrastructure, with establishing micro-enterprises and activating the role of their productive cooperatives in villages. Medical services, by building hospitals and health units, equipping them with medical devices and providing healthcare services through medical staff. Educational services, through building and equipping schools and nurseries, providing educational services through professional teachers and providing literacy courses. Economic empowerment, this is by providing training opportunities through micro, small and medium enterprises, establishing industrial and craft complexes, and providing job opportunities. Social services interventions in human development, including building the human beings, targeting families, children, women, people with disabilities, seniors, and launching awareness-raising initiatives. Environmental interventions, including collecting garbage and exploring new ways to recycle it.
Thank you, Abir Hussein and Rasha Abdul Hamid, for this report, and thank you, dear viewers, for staying with us back here in the studio with Professor of Economics, Dr. Zeinab Nawar. Dr. Zeinab, we saw the great humanitarian role that Decent Life or Hayat Karima Presidential Initiative plays is not only restricted to Egypt or Egyptians. We saw Hayat Karima or Decent Life responding to what's happening in Gaza, the illegal Israeli blockade, inhumane blockade, and the aggression by the occupation against innocent civilians in Gaza. So it opened bank accounts for donations to help the Palestinians. Your comment on that move by Hayat Karim?
Yes, of course, this is, I see it very normal. I mean that for a Decent Life, it's an Egyptian initiative that we can say that it became a model for not for the Egyptians themselves, but also for the rest of the world and also for the Arab region. So we have the model of how we should work for the benefit of societies and communities and providing decent life and providing good quality services in terms of services and in terms of course of education, whatever. So it was very normal from the initiative itself to do this type of opening banks account for those who would like to pay for those who are in Palestine, of course, because of the recent events that we do have. We have to stress on one thing, that Egypt is a central country in the MENA region, and we have also to stress the big role we play in this issue. I mean, this type of strikes between the Palestinian and Israeli. So under any circumstances, we cannot deny the role of Egypt, which is not only political but also economic role. So it came under the topic of the political economic role of Egypt in the MENA region, and this is what we have to stress on, and we have to put thousands of lines under this topic. So this is very normal, and I'm very proud of that. And I think also that the Decent initiative, it became a model for a lot of countries in Africa, not in the MENA region. And this is the good thing, that we are trying to show the world and to show our partners that we have a lot to present and we have a lot to offer. Yes, we have a lot of economic problems worldwide, but at the end, Egypt is trying to do the best for the rest of the world.
Indeed. And looking at, again, what's happening in occupied Palestine now, especially in Gaza, I mean, those are needy groups now. And looking into the Decent Life goals, and it's on its official website, it says that it has target groups. And those target groups are the neediest families, the persons with disabilities, the female breadwinners and divorced women, the orphans and children, the unemployed youth. So talk to us about that. I mean, the target groups. I mean, there is a very clear policy and a vision for this initiative.
One of the main target groups also, and one of the criteria of the project.
The seniors as well.
Yes, it's the poverty rate, targeting poor villages. Where there is an estimate for the poverty rate of 70%. This is the main, yes, this is the main target group actually. The thing that we used to have a huge number of poor in poor villages in Egypt. So Decent Life is trying to deal with this high poverty rate. So how you can deal with this high poverty rate? Through the different infrastructure services to be provided to them. We stayed for Egypt for a long time, for a lot of villages, without the basic infrastructure services. No sanitation, no clean drinking water, lightings of the streets, even paved roads, educational services, gas, educational services, health services, and even if we talk about the small clinics in very poor villages. So
this is changing.
Yes,
this is
of course,
changing.
the initiative is changing all of that. I saw in one of the villages in Sohag, I saw one of the construction work for the sanitation work itself. So you can see and you can touch to what extent the people in this village, they were so happy of having this type of important services that will affect the quality of life. Decent initiative talks about quality of life, better quality of life. Right. And this is what we do seek for the Egyptians. And this is also the right to live this quality life. So once again, basic infrastructure and important infrastructure that was needed, and also important infrastructure for humans and important infrastructure for economic activities, for the irrigation channels, for what we can say for the irrigation of lands and all of that, all need some sort of rehabilitation and some sort of construction work also. So all of this had been done. Also the update of the local units. Some of the local units were updated by some agricultural tools, and this was very important to support the work of the farmers in these areas and these poor villages. Actually, the Egyptian villages needs a lot of services, needs a lot of type of, what I can say, awareness also campaigns, and this is what the initiative had done, providing campaigns, giving like sessions for women, and also women entrepreneurship, and talking with the different people in different villages about their needs and what they see in terms of economic development of each village. So this is very important. Also, we have some partners, they started to work also with these poor villages in terms of how to give the sessions to, of course, small sessions, to poor women, how to work on certain handcraft, whatever, or handmade products. So also this was very important. You are just shaking these places and you are trying just to let the blood flow into these places in terms of whatever services and also awareness that you are providing.
Beautiful metaphor there, Dr. Zeinab. Speaking of services, I want to focus, if you will allow, on health and educational services, because health and education are essential rights, and they are the cornerstones of any advanced society. So tell us about the efforts, and specifically in health and education by Hayek.
In health, I will tell you something. I used to work in a project maybe before the initiative of Decent Life. It was in one of the villages in El Fayoum, and I went to the clinic, for each local unit, there is like a clinic, small clinic, for the people in this local unit. So when I went there, this is before the initiative, I saw that this clinic, there is no tools there. Everything was on the basic, what I can say, yani, in terms of abilities and capacity,
yeah.
no tools, and even I found only one doctor and one nurse. I just remember what I saw there, and actually I was surprised of what I saw. But when we talk about the update of these clinics in these local units, this is very important. They need a lot of tools. They need a lot of also, when we talk about medical staff working there, you have to ensure that people in these villages or in these places, if they needed a healthcare service, they will find it. Why? If they didn't find this healthcare service, maybe what you can say, the delayment of the provision of the service, maybe there will, the patient will, whatever, having other consequences, other whatever, type of diseases.
Yeah,
we don't know if there's a time
loss of life, maybe.
Loss of life. So actually working on health and provision of health services, this is very important. And also the initiative worked on like a reform to a lot of hospitals, like updating these hospitals and building new ones. This is very important. Also the same for schools, updating some of the old buildings for schools, and this is very important also for the students to be in a decent place and also to build new ones. I believe that we still need a lot in terms of healthcare services and also for educational services, because again and once again, to achieve development and to achieve decent life, the start is the health and education services. So we still need a lot in this area. But once again, to ensure that people are living a healthy life, and also they are living a life with, they can obtain the knowledge and the information that they would like to get. This is very important to ensure that, especially when we talk about poor villages and the awareness and the education, and also fighting whatever bad type of thoughts. And of course, we had spent a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of lives recently fighting terrorism in different places, and whatever that this was in the past, we don't want to talk about it. But once again, to fight these social diseases, you have to start by health and education services in the poorest villages as much as you can.
Indeed. Economic empowerment is another major cornerstone of the program, providing training opportunities, helping the creation of small enterprises. Talk to us about that key element, and developing the skills of the would-be employees and so on.
What do you mean by economic empowerment? Economic empowerment, sometimes the local people in poor villages, they don't recognize the power or the economic power that they do have. They just like to see this is the type of agricultural product, this is the type of crops, this is the type of animals, and this is the life, and that's it. So economic empowerment is to let the people understand that they have a potential, they have resources they must use or they can use. So you just educate them how to use these resources properly, how to whatever dealing with animals, and how to grow crops in a way that you can increase the productivity of lands, how you have to give them the guidance how to work on handmade projects. If you talk about cultural types of products, this is very important, because there is a demand on this type of products given our culture and given our history, and also given the number of tourists that we receive each year. So we have a potential for each village in Egypt. There is a potential, but also there is identity for each village. So we cannot deal with them that all of them are the same in everything. Unit, we cannot do that. We have to educate the people in this poor place or in this place how to use their own resources with its own characteristics, with its own ability to create cash and to create money out of it. So this is very important also to ensure that people are living good life, because yes, we know that the infrastructure is good, and also we know that the types of services of health and education, of course, this is important, but creating jobs and getting money out of the economic activities also, this is very important to ensure that people are living a decent and quality life.
Indeed, Dr. Zeinab, and this is, of course, a collective work between the government represented in its ministries. More than 20 ministries are involved in the Decent Life Presidential Initiative. Of course, also many civil society organizations. And then there is the private sector and the youth and the volunteers. So talk to us about the importance of coordination and integration between these efforts so as to get the best results.
A decent life initiative, this is a big initiative, a very big project, because it entails a huge number of villages and a huge number of people. So for sure there will be a lot of coordination between different parties. For each one, they provide whatever they can provide with. I mean, the private sector, they can just pay whatever, like volunteer in terms of effort, if they would like to pay whatever, a certain amount of money. Giving awareness sessions. I know that for some of the private sector companies in Egypt, they just went and they just gave sessions to different places for women, or even for farmers, or whatever the type of experience and expertise they do have. So the coordination and also the leadership that the initiative had made, and also how to lead all of these efforts to have something solid on the ground. I see it a good effort from whoever is managing the initiative, actually. I'm talking about the executive part of it.
Yes.
So yes, I saw a lot of output, and I saw a lot of work that is coming from different entities, and also from NGOs, also from on the ground. So all of this collaborative and all of this collective work and effort actually had an excellent result on the ground, and we would like also to continue working like that, because once again, if you would like to work for the society, the government itself or an initiative itself cannot do all of the work, because we need a lot of cooperation, a lot of different expertise, and even ideas and plans, things that is out of the box, and all of that to help in to sustain and also for the continuation of the work.
Right, and this is a very important point. So you're telling us that this is not just about phase 1 or phase 2 or phase X or Y. This has to be a continuous work. This is not a project for 2, 3 years or 5 or 10 years. I mean, this is something that should always be there, right? The entire society working for the neediest part of society.
Yes, and this is what the community should do. This is one of our rules. If we can do something, we have to do it for our community. We're not looking for any type of gains, except that we are trying to serve our community and to provide whatever we can do. Yani, I think this is very important to have this type of volunteer work for some of the partners in this initiative. This is very important. And the president in the conference of Hikayat Watan, he said that for Egypt and for the Egyptian government, we will continue working on these projects and will not stop working on these projects. So it seems that, yes, we are going to continue for these projects. So it is the role of the community, and it is the role of the NGOs and the private sector to also continue working with the government as much as they can to support the country and also to support the needy in our community.
At the same time, when we are moving forward, we have to measure. We have to have some kind of scale whereby we can measure the rate of success and the speed at which we need to be moving. Do we have this on the ground?
Of course, we do have it. I will tell you why. Because if we look for the success of the project and the success of the output, for any governmental project, and we can say this is the EPC of the work of any developmental project, that you do an assessment of the current situation, This is how they do it. You do first an assessment of the current situation, and you determine the needs, and then you start to work on the project and the different types of projects according to a plan, and according to plan in terms of steps, and according also to financial plan. And you have to think where I'm going to get the money for each project, and who is going to volunteer. Private sector will pay a certain amount, or it will come. All of the financial support is coming from the budget, for example, and all of that. And then once you finalize the work, there are partners who are observing before finalization of the work. You have partners who are observing the steps of the establishment of the project. And also they have to report whether the steps or whether the project is working according to the plan and according to the specs or not. This is the governmental steps for any project. And then for the final whatever work of the project and for the delivery of the project also there is a process. So nothing that is just coming for steps, that is everything is legalized and according to certain steps, because once again you are dealing with a project, huge projects that the government is part of it and also other partners. So you have to follow the rules and you have to follow the legalities. And of course, after the finalization of the project, so you have to do like evaluation of what you had achieved and how the impact on the ground. So this is part of doing like an evaluation and to see what you had done is actually what you planned for, or there are some sort of gaps. So you have to do an amount of recorrection once again.
Yes.
So this is very important to follow these steps. And also, during the implementation on the ground, there is a monitoring of the implementation to ensure that there is no corruption, that you are working in the right direction. So all of these steps are known into any governmental system and also known into the partners who are with you in the implementation, because this is the right also to see how the money was it spent properly or not.
Right, Dr. Zeinab. Of course, this initiative and other initiatives in Egypt aim to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and Egypt's vision for a sustainable development. So there is an SDG, of course, about combating poverty, about the rate of health services coverage, about the educational services provided, and others. So finally, as we close out, because unfortunately always time runs by so fast, tell us about the link between the Decent Life, Hayat Karima initiative and the achievement of sustainable development goals.
Of course, if you talk about our government and the Egyptian government who are adopting the sustainable development goals, and also the vision of 2030 is based on the sustainable development goals. So it's by default that Hayat Karima initiative will have this also sustainable development goals, because as a government, as a community, we said implicitly that we are adopting these goals in terms of fighting poverty, providing decent types of services, education is very important, and also protecting the environment. Why SDGs and why in Egypt we are just working on these sustainability pillars? Because I had received a lot of questions. What's the importance of that? The importance of that worldwide, like there is what we can say that an international agreement of these pillars, that each government worldwide will work on these SDGs, and also there is like a manifesto to work on this and to be one of the adopted into any government vision or mission or strategy or even future plans. So we cannot under any circumstances for Egypt not to work on this, otherwise we're not following the rest of the world and following what's the latest in terms of updates of policies and initiatives and all of that. So of course, Decent Life, part of its implementation entails the SDGs, and as much as we can, we work on that. And of course, the sustainability and the continuation of the work will achieve a better SDGs and better goals in the future.
And finally, Dr. Zeinab, I guess I want to close and wrap up just like we started. And as you said, it was normal. We have to commend the efforts of Hayat Karima to provide the bank accounts and donations for the innocent Palestinian civilians. Because after all, An initiative like this that cares about educational services, health services, clean water, and so on, when it sees hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians deprived of the same clean water, and the hospitals, the health services, being hit by the occupation, and the schools where hundreds of thousands shelter, even United Nations schools, UNRWA schools, being hit by the occupation, then it had to have a role. Haya Karima. But we have to thank them. We have to thank them as well.
Definitely.
It was normal, but we have to thank them.
We have to thank them, of course, and this is Egypt's role in the region, and this is Egypt's role toward the issue.
And it's also the role of the international community,
I'll
by
tell
the
you
way.
why. I'll tell you why, because recently
this is happening before the eyes of the international community and the superpowers, and many of them are turning a blind eye and even encouraging the occupation and the illegal blockade.
We have voices lately started to talk, I'm talking about worldwide community also, that we don't have this big role towards the issue of the Palestinian and Israeli conflict, and all of this proved to be wrong.
Egypt has always had the big role, and will always have the big role.
Yes. So by just
Mm.
using whatever we do have in terms of initiatives and economic models, and then we are trying to show the world that we are in and we are supporting, even if we have an economic problems, but we're still there and we're still in the region, and no one can tell us that we are not taking the lead. No, we are in the lead. We are. Egypt used to be a leader of the Arab world and will be the leader of the Arab world.
Indeed. On that note, dear viewers, and on behalf of you, we thank very much our dear guest here with us in the studio, Dr. Zeinab Nawar, the Professor of Economics and Economic Expert. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, next week, same time, inshallah, is a new episode of Business Insider. Thank you for watching.